Welcome everyone
Good.
to such a auspicious occasion. The end of year Loop user group, which has been so regularly run every month, every fourth Thursday. No, of the month. No, not regularly at all. Thank you for the irregular running of this user group. It's not to say that we haven't had lots to talk about, but it has been quite busy, and as you imagine, yeah, sometimes difficult to pull these things off. But thank you for your support, and a nice way to finish off the year, being able to talk about the announcements and various things at Microsoft Ignite, but also the fact that it's generally available, which, yeah, that's an interesting tag today, isn't it, people? Copilot is generally available to those who can afford it. Yeah, that's right, Amelia. But it is because we changed the name of Bing Chat for Enterprise and Bing generally available, Bing for everybody. It's now called Copilot, so everyone has Copilot, right? Anyway, this is not about Copilot, but it is about having fun. I'm happy to have Christoph and Pieter and Phil and Rob, who's going to join us as a recorded voice, the hologram of Thor. No, for Stargate fans, I'm sorry, I'm just recently going through that series again. Yes, Rob's at a choir sort of end of year thing with his young boys and listening to their wonderful voices. I don't know how well they're good at singing. All right. So Loop, top news for Microsoft Ignite. Look, I'll leave a moment here for each of you to introduce yourselves. So I'll say your names so we don't get all awkward. We'll start with Christoph.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Christoph from Germany, and I'm also named by Mr. Redcap and, to be honest, Mr. Red Shoes.
How often do you put your shoes up in calls?
Every day.
Excellent. Just to show
I'm
how
used to
flexible
it.
you are. Whoop-ow! Yeah. All right. Introducing Rob. I'll do it for Rob. Rob Quickenden. I'm from Sicilian. I'm the CTO. I have beamed in, and you will see me further on in the presentation. But yeah, happy to be here. And Pieter.
Yes, thank you. I'm a 365 trusted advisor, whatever that may mean. So I got a technical background, but I switched along the road to a more functional and business approach. So try to deliver as much value as I can from the 365 platform. In a nutshell.
We can trust you. We can trust you, Pieter. Trusted advisor is a good role. It's what we should all be. Yeah. And lastly, Phil.
Yep. So I'm Phil Worrell, currently based out of Switzerland. Basically, kind of similar to Pieter, really. But I technical roles throughout most of my career, and somehow fell into SharePoint about 7 or 8 years ago for a customer, and it sort of snowballed from there. So getting into all things 365 and working both the digital workplace, user adoption type scenarios. And also still doing the technicals, the change management, and small business solutions around Power Platform as well. So fair range of things.
Fantastic. So it's a good lineup. There were other people that did want to be here, and we're trying to celebrate all our different opinions and thoughts, and so I'll also just leave the floor open for people who also on this user group would like to talk for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. This is a really relaxed user group. It's just about sharing what we know, sharing our experiences. So I welcome anyone who wants to join, whether you're watching the recording later or as you join these different user groups. But yeah, this event is, as I said, rounding up some of Microsoft Ignite's news. Just one thing I'd like to try out in this user group, because I'm always experimenting. You might find in your meeting experience that there's a Q&A panel, and I'm in awe of how little this feature is used, especially on Microsoft run events where Q&A is just a great way to capture questions so that they don't disappear in the chat, and the speakers aren't going, let me just go back and try and find the questions amidst all the jokes and fun that we have in our chat. So if you just for giggles now, just to test, just open up the Q&A panel, and if you could just drop in, I don't know, a hello or whatever. I know that we can do this in chat, but just go ahead and do that. Would be fantastic. Why does Q&A get you so little? Yeah, great. Phil, you asked the question. I would like you to answer it, and just a brief kind of opinion on that.
Because people are so used to chat.
Yeah.
End of story, really. I think it's because they're so used to tap, tap, tap. I want to get some information there. I think it's definitely a larger event type of feature that you want to use on those big town halls and stuff, so that it becomes a lot less cluttered. Because I know that being on some big town halls myself, I see the chat sometimes goes crazy, and unless you've got like 3 or 4 people actually moderating the whole thing, and things fly off the screen and stuff like that, it gets very hard to follow anything. And also getting all the chat after the meeting is not easy either. It's still very much copy and paste, whereas Q&A, at least you can get to some of that information separately.
Yeah, and look, as we're playing around with this now, and feel free to also use the chat as we have a bit of fun. But I just want to encourage you to try using Q&A just during this meetup, because it is helpful to capture those questions, and we actually have a few features in there, like being able to thread the responses, or the response that Christoph has given to Phil's question. I've marked as best answer. So great stuff. Let's make use of it. Anyway, moving on from toys, Microsoft Loop. All right, so let's get into the topic for today. I think while this generally available, any kind of software that's been in development for a while, it's kind of a milestone, a big event. These days we see these patterns, don't we, where something is developed and customers get invited into a private preview, which is smallish to start with and almost half broken, and everyone goes in with low expectations. And then as things develop, they invite more people into it, get more feedback, and then they get to a point where there's public preview, which means that it's freely available, but you opt in and try it out for yourselves, or there is usually some kind of sign-up list that might allow you to get on board, depending on what that was. And so Loop's experience was a bit like that. We saw way early on live components, fluid framework, all sorts of things years and years ago, and really not much was going on. And then there was this big event at Microsoft Ignite, which was about 3 years ago now, I feel like. It should have been, yeah. Anyway, and it was, wow, look at this great thing, this buzz video, and then nothing really matching that experience for at least 2 years. Well, here it is, generally available. We've seen it in preview. We've seen a lot of rapid work happening as the Loop product group have pulled together and tried to get this thing ready. We know that there's still things that some organizations want to be ready before they're happy to open it up for their enterprise, but there has been also a lot of work done in the administration space. So well done. More stable components. There's a wider range of apps that are supporting this and continuing to grow. There's new Loop components available, and some of them we'll talk about today. And also, I'll just have a look at this question here. Sorry. Maybe chat and Q&A should be combined feature for some use cases. Yeah, absolutely. So true, Deborah. And information. Yeah, there's more information about apps that have been shared, new Loop components, new possibilities of bringing in information from different applications into Loop. Jira, Trello, and one that was announced to was Azure DevOps, something else as well. Yeah, they're all starting to see the possibilities. So that's very short roundup. I know that on this list there's actually more that I probably missed. The interesting thing about the Loop product group is sometimes they release things that they don't realize they released. It's fun, like when something appears in the product and it's in the public preview, it's available, and One of us might tweet about it, and then sometimes you might get a little backroom direct message from the Loop Twitter handle or X handle. Hey, we're not really ready to talk about that yet. And I said, yeah, but you've got like a blog post over here, and I thought you'd know about this. Anyway, these are 10 or 12 different things that some of them we'll cover off in the list. Some pretty exciting stuff. I think also as things are being released, there is a pattern to some of the things. They're setting up for other capabilities to make things possible. I think a number of these things will also rely on the release general availability of Teams 2.0. Because, redeveloping that, they want to bring more of those capabilities into that newer Teams experience, such as components in Teams channels. So I won't go through each of those because that's what we're here for with our fantastic guest speakers. We're going to move over to our first guest speaker, and that's Pieter. So feel free, Pieter, to take control so you can take the slides and take us away.
Seems like it's working. So
yep.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I started talking about Microsoft Loop approximately a year ago, something like that, because it seemed like some cool new technology. I always like what's new and shiny and what no one knows yet. But I already got the feeling back then that Microsoft is going to shove this through everyone's throat in a certain point in time. And well, we're here today, so I was right. So I'm glad with that. I also forgot to tell you I'm from Belgium, by the way. My son asked me just before the meeting where it was, what's on the other side of the globe, and apparently it's right next to New Zealand. Well, coincidence there. You can check it; it's true. So I work for actually a small company called The Flow, 35 people approximately, and it's part of a larger group, the Kronos Group. It's not entirely relevant, but it's a large group of people which gave me the opportunity, luckily for me, to be part of the early access program of Copilot. So I'm one of the lucky ones that got to test Copilot for approximately, I think, 100 days or something since somewhere in August, I guess. I'm saying this because obviously the link with that is on this first slide. So I'm going to talk a bit about Copilot, 365 Copilot, and the integration within the collaborative notes, which is supported by Microsoft Loop. That's probably not a secret anymore, right? So a very quick step back. I always try to position technology before I try to impress people with it. So from my point of view, when I talk to customers or people from the business, I personally think that this feature, so collaborative notes, is one of the most easy features to explain or to let people adopt for Microsoft Loop, because it is entirely integrated into your Microsoft Teams meeting invites. I saw it was in the latest user group, I think. I got this new tip. I didn't know about it, so you can test it later. When you set up a new meeting and you create your meeting notes at the bottom, you can actually click a button on the right corner to hide the agenda before the meeting starts. So it was a cool one. I didn't know about that one. So, well, we're here to learn, so great. Also, when you prepare your meeting, you can, what I call do some expectation management, because how often do you enter a meeting where there's no clear agenda? Everybody wants something to say, and well, the hour will be over before everything gets said that needed to be said. What's also cool is that, well, your Loop file, because it's entirely built on Microsoft Loop, the Loop file itself will just get your meeting title .loop at the end, so it's really easy to find afterwards. Now, once the meeting is started and there is an agenda, it will also immediately show up on the right-hand side, and you can also press the Notes button on top, which is right next to the View button. So it's really easy, not a lot of explanation needed during the meeting, so also that helps quite a lot. And it's just there for real-time collaborative note-taking, so it's literally that what the name says. So it's not yet there for external users and guests, but I think somebody else might be talking about that, as we just figured out. I don't know if anyone's seen it already. I was expecting it already for quite some time now, but it's not there in Outlook meeting invites yet. So when you create a new meeting invite, don't get the option down below. And for the channel meetings, it's also not there yet, but I recently figured out it's on the roadmap, so that's a good thing. It says January 2024. Let's see what happens and when it happens. Right. So where do those collaborative nodes live? Very brief, summary. You might have already seen this architectural picture. It's very high level. It's been updated, by the way, quite recently with the 2 circles on top with the Teams icon or Teams logo because of the support within channel meetings very soon, obviously. So where it's stored, well, if we have a meeting today and I start the notes, well, it's since I'm the organizer, the notes or the new loop file will be stored in my OneDrive. So I could go to my OneDrive, look for the meetings folder, and there it is. Then the meeting name.loop, there's the file. Or what I suggest people to do is just go simply to your loop application, or if not yet there or installed, you can just go to loop.microsoft.com, log in, and I got a picture of that, right? So just go to your recent components and pages tab, and right below is the meeting notes button. So all your meeting notes, not only the ones you've created, but also the ones for meetings you just participated, are all going to be there. So really easy. Now the next one, let's find out, Daryl. Let's see what it does. I can click play and pause it again. Is it paused on your side as well, or is it just
It
looping?
is paused. Yeah, it's paused.
It is paused. Okay,
Yep.
Great. Okay, so very good. So what's really cool now, when you start, or when it's going to be supported, obviously, or rolled out, when you start your meeting and you have Copilot available, you will see that on the top window, you get this, I don't know what it's called, a dialog box notification that says that Copilot will automatically take notes. So it will take notes based on what's being said, or actually literally on the transcription of what's being said. There might be a slight difference, but that's how it works. So really cool. Something else you might see on the top right, I think. I cannot do fast. Where's my laser pointer? There. I've never used it in real time, but in virtual meeting it works. So in the top on the right top corner, you see these are the icons. It's very small of the people within the meeting that have the notes, the collaborative notes open. But you see this additional picture, thumbnail, whatever. Obviously, this is a Copilot icon, and this is new. So now you know Copilot is integrated within the meeting and is going to take your notes for you. Let's move a little bit forward. So you can see people are adding things to the agenda. And if you look very carefully, I paused it hopefully at the right time.
Oh, Peter, I think it's still showing the, I don't know if everyone else has experienced, I'm seeing the laser pointer still go around.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a little slow. I think it may be it's buffering. It doesn't know what to do with lasers. Let's see, is it going to catch up? I think it's starting to play. Yeah, if you play now. Oh, there we go. We're at brainstorm what makes A, and then meeting notes.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll just talk over it. That's
Sure.
fine. we can share this movie afterwards. It's not mine. It's just the Microsoft, as you might have seen already. But what's really cool is that people can start take notes or add things to the agenda themselves, but also Copilot will start taking notes, and you get to see this additional cursor in this particular loop gradient. So it also says AI generated content, may be incorrect. So you know it's AI generated. So really cool. I'll just skip forward. I don't know if it works for you guys, but simultaneously when Copilot is taking these notes, you can just take your own notes while you're at it. And I don't know if you can see it already, but also Copilot will start taking or start suggesting tasks as well at the bottom. So that is really, really cool. What's not in this video, if you have Copilot, and you should just click at the top window on the Copilot button, you get, of course, your Copilot side pane or your Copilot chat, as you might call it. And there you can just ask, for example, add everything that Davey said about topic A, B, or C, add it to the notes, and then Copilot will also add this to the meeting notes. So that is pretty much it, I think, regarding this announcement. I don't know, you want to have some Q&A now, or maybe at the end, or in the chat, or in the Q&A.
Yeah, let's take a few questions now. We haven't had any related questions to this in the Q&A panel, but yeah, I think this is quite clever. I think Copilot on its own in a meeting is your experience. You can kick that off and ask it to run a summary for you and bring it into the meeting to share with others. But the amazing difference here is that this Copilot is a co-authored experience of the meeting notes. Do you see what challenges do you see, Pieter, around turning Copilot on and having AI actually type in the notes for you and with you?
That's an excellent question. I think we still have to see how well it works. That's the first thing, and see if it's smart enough to capture the right things. We will I'm quite certain that it will generate notes correctly based on the transcripts. But you know, people say a lot of things in a meeting. You should see the entire transcript. It's really crazy, from just 1 hour talk with 4 people, for example. So I think that will be a challenge to see what will Copilot add itself, or do people want to turn it off and ask Copilot just summarize whatever he or she said about topic A, B, and C and add it to the notes. I think regardless from the pitfalls, I think the biggest benefit from this is that people can focus even more on the meeting instead of not only taking notes, but also not having to worry, where are the notes? Are they in a OneNote? Are they in, some people still use a Word file, or they're of course their physical paper. Still people do something like that. So yeah, it's hard to tell, obviously, because it's a video. You know, Microsoft's marketing videos, they look really cool, but we still have to figure out how well they work in real life.
Ian had a good question about whether this would be an experience everyone sees. So if the presenter has Copilot and Teams Premium, for example, they're going to see these notes appear here. Do you think that for those who don't have a Copilot license, they will also see the notes?
Well, actually, I added this into the notes of the slide, which I rarely use. It's literally there, so only one participant in the meeting is required to have the Copilot license for the notes to be viewable and editable to all meeting participants. So that's great. I think, one-on-one answer to that question.
Fantastic. Well, we do have a few other things to keep moving along with, but thank you, Pieter, for giving us a roundup of that feature. Who is next? I think it was Christoph. If you could take control, I think it's your next slide. Let's see.
Let's check it out. Yeah, it's me. It's all about loop and loop in the Teams channel. So long awaited, finally available. The loop components in channels were already announced in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, I think around about 6 or 8 weeks ago. And they made it also to the keynote at the Microsoft Ignite. So at the end, we've got 2 possibilities to consider how we can make loop components available in the Teams channel. The first possibility is that we copy an existing loop component into a channel post. And the loop component is rendered after copying, and the existing accept rights are automatically extended to the actual team members, as far as I figured out. And at the end, the previous storage location, as shown by Pieter some slides ago, of the loop component remains unchanged. It will be OneDrive of one of the creators. And the second possibility is, just move a slide ahead. The second possibility is to initiate a new loop component in a channel post. And the loop component is automatically available to all team members with write permissions. And the storage location of the new loop component is the folder linked to the channel in SharePoint. And unfortunately, there is no subfolder for the loop components that is created there. That is one of the feature requests I've sent over to the product group. They should insert an subfolder for the loop components, because I think it will be a little bit of chaotic if we use loop components extensively in a loop channel, in a Teams channel. And both possibilities are working in standard, private, and shared channels. And just keep in mind, shared channels with the restriction that only 10 internal members have access to it. And by the way, loop components can already be moved from OneDrive to SharePoint for a long time without losing any of their functionalities. There's only one exception: never try to move a collaborative meeting node from OneDrive to SharePoint. The result are broken links, and you will not be able to repair them. I've tried it once, and that hasn't been. And the loop components in loop components also enable a planner in a private channel via the loop component task list. As everybody knows, since each loop task list is generating a so-called lightweight planner in the background, this is the way how we can get a planner in a private channel. It's one of my most used cases. And please note that such a planner cannot be added as a tab via the planner app, because it's not tied to the planner functionalities. And in the summary, you just can the loop in the loop components in the Teams channel solves the challenge with OneDrive as storage locations, and we move from a person or better account related cloud storage location to a group related storage location. And that's at the end of the day, that makes it pretty cool to use it within Teams.
There's been some good questions in there, Christoph, too, about it. And I like the hack or the trick for getting a planner into a private channel. Peter's question was, where might that be stored if you are adding the task list to a loop component in a private channel, creates the plan? Where is the plan stored?
In the so-called SharePoint Premium, formerly known as SharePoint Syntax Repository Service. Today it's called SharePoint Premium.
Right, yeah. And I think because plans that are attached to task lists in Loop, they run their own roster or list of people that if you have a task assigned to you, you have access to this connected or linked plan. So it feels like it's almost out there on its own, and manages to be connected to the private channel experience.
The loop canvas will be stored in the SharePoint of the SharePoint side of the private channel, and if you add a member to the private channel, the added member will also get access to the planner. Because it's tied via the SharePoint page. Yes.
Phil had a good question too about loops in channels. Can they be extended to people outside of the team?
No. Oh, sorry. Can they extend it? Yeah, you can share the loop component to any other member of your tenant.
So like the screenshot we're seeing there, if you copied a link, you could say for people in my organization.
Yeah, and also you are able just to, if you use that kind of, or if you copy a an existing loop component into a channel, you can set it read only for all the team members. So that's the most of the questions, that you can set the dynamic pieces of a loop component into a read only mode for several people.
Oh, right. And that's actually quite helpful too. There's one other scenario here which I noticed while I was working with the Loop product group, that this appeared in a team that they shared with a group of us, but they didn't realize they had turned on the ability for a guest in a team to also see the Loop component, which is very useful, but they didn't know. So that's another thing that is possible too. That's good. It's good. You're a member of a team.
If you're a member of a team, even if you are a guest member of the team, you can see and you can act with the Loop component.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Now, thank you, Christoph, for that. And I know there's probably more questions, and that's the idea. Start more questions. We have conversations that we can continue in the LinkedIn group as well. Let me see if I can take control back. I think the next section here is from... Oh, there's one more slide for yours, Christoph. I think. So I'll just go across here. This one?
Yeah, that one is if you've got that kind of planner in a private channel, you can't attach it via attach it via a website link or so. I'm going to pin the message with the planner just to the right side, and everybody gets his access in a quick way.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good. Okay, so moving on to Rob's. Now, Rob, he's recorded some commentary and sort of thoughts about announcements around Microsoft Ignite and Loop. So I'll play this through, I think, and I believe the audio will work. And if not, then I'm not sure how I'm going to lip read and translate for you. But let's see.
So hi everybody on the Loop user group. Firstly, sorry I can't be here in person today. I have my son's school Christmas concert tonight, so I'll be attending that at the time this session goes on. But Darryl and team, thank you for asking me to present a brief update today. I wanted to talk a little bit about, in particular,
I'm sure you tested it before and it has been
within Loop, and why I feel it's such an important requirement for the product success and ongoing development. And this applies not just to the Loop components, but obviously the Loop wider workspace as well. So we know that Microsoft are working on this. For those of you that have seen the roadmap, you'll know that Microsoft are working quite heavily on cross-tenant access. But it to me feels like it really is one of those areas that should have been looked at a lot earlier in the development, because Loop is such a powerful tool to enable us just to dip in and out of work, whether that's through components or whether that's obviously through entire workspaces and pages within the Loop workspace. But to me, it's been game changing, right, from an internal perspective. But then every time, and this is sort of working with clients and working internally, that you kind of get some traction with the product, then you kind of come against these inhibitors that you don't come across with the other collaborative working tools within 365. So for me, this is really something that I wanted to drive a bit of conversation about. So hopefully there'll be lots of chat after my session today. But really to put some pressure on product group and to get us all involved a little bit in kind of what are those requirements that we need to really have the best Loop experience and to really make this a game changer for how businesses, organizations, charities, etc. Communicate. So here are my kind of core reasons why I think this is just an absolute necessity. So the first one, of course, is about driving adoption of the core product. So I think one of the really easy entry points into using Loop is the collaborative notes feature within Teams, which I think is being covered today as well. So just as a quick recap, this is the ability for us to set up a Teams meeting, and rather than having a static agenda that doesn't change, we can now use a collaborative agenda, which means that we can adapt it and change it as we go on. That agenda and therefore notes are presented within Teams, and we can keep that live and up to date anytime. So really useful for recurring meetings, right, where the agenda may be the same, we may add additional things, we can keep a running commentary of notes, and that's a really powerful thing. Of course, that stops as soon as we have an external participant in the call. So then we go back to what we always did, and emailing notes around, or maybe using a OneNote that we share collaboratively with other people. But I think it really breaks us away from what is such a powerful tool within Microsoft Teams. So that's number one to me, and I think collaborative notes is just not going to get the airtime until we have external access. Yes, guest access would be great as well, but I think at the moment cross-tenant, if other organizations you're working with are in 365, then it would be phenomenal to enable them just to have access based on the fact they've been invited to the meeting, right? So number one, and I think really, really important. The second one is very similar, but this is really around facilitating a much wider collaborative working and drafting process. So if you think about how many of us use the rest of the Microsoft 365 environment today, then we might be working on a contract, we might be working on a statement of work, it might be a proposal around something, and typically today that will involve us sending an email around with a file attachment. We might add comments to that and send it back. If we're good at collaborating, then we'll be doing that with co-authoring enabled in Office, which of course is really, really powerful. But a lot of the time we're just talking about ideas. We might be working on an agenda, we might be working on a presentation, we might be working on an event or a user group or something like that. And having the ability to just work with lots of people in real time is, again, one of the key features that Loop enables. We use this extensively internally within our organization for just those things, right? Planning meetings. We've got a new demo center we're building, so we're using that to draft kind of the experiences that we'll be showcasing, and the demos that we need, and the technology that we need to put in place. And again, using this outside the organization is a challenge, because we divert back to those native tools of emails and reply to walls, or file attachments, or again, collaborative working through through the other Office apps. But again, facilitating cross-tenant access is, I think, just vital, again, to really drive adoption of the product. And this is really, can't say this enough, we need this thing. And then it's really about, this informal collaborative working, right? So to me, this is where Loop comes alive, right? All of the things that we do where we're working on ongoing task lists, actions, ad hoc requests, change control, those kind of things, that has always been quite formal through, requesting these things through portals or email requests and these kind of things. And I think, again, we know that Loop gives us the ability to do these things really informally, but in a really structured, innovative, collaborative way. So, few of the examples that I talk to my clients about are these sorts of things, working on project RAGs across different departments. Sometimes that's, companies that have got federated access, so they're part of a different organization but over the same umbrella company. They can't use Loop to do these things because of the tenant bound restrictions. Working with guests and working with clients, partners and customers for these kind of things, again, it's all kind of the same thing, right? But it just kind of feels Loop is contained at the moment within the boundaries of an organization, and we really need to unleash it. And it needs to work in a very similar way to how sharing just works in the rest of the Microsoft 365 stack. I think, if we're having a Teams chat and we've got an external participant, then it just needs to flow. We don't need a separate process for that. It needs to work within the context of the way that we're used to working. Otherwise, all of these things are going to inhibit adoption, make it difficult. It's a difficult way to do something, therefore I don't know how to do it. So this is really my kind of feedback, and I really welcome all of your support and thoughts on this as well. I hope this has been useful. I look forward to seeing the notes and things in the comments. And if I could share a loop component or we could all collaborate on that, then I would have done that. But unfortunately, we can't today. So we'll have to use the notes in the LinkedIn chat. Thank you again, Darryl. Thank you for letting me ramble on for 7-8 minutes. I hope it's useful and enjoy the rest of the session. I look forward to catching up on demand. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, Rob. That was good. I know he had some good thoughts and analysis, especially around the sharing experience. Has anyone seen in the message center just in the last week something that is setting up for this? Do you know what I'm talking about? So they're talking about, especially with collaborative notes to begin with, but apparently the default, and I haven't actually even noticed this, when you share collaborative notes in a meeting inside your organization, the default link was an organizational link, sharing it with anyone across my organization. You did not have the opportunity to narrow that down to specific people links, but now you will. And so that means that notes that are in meetings that are intended to be private can't inadvertently be shared. They're only shared specifically with the people in the meeting. Now, while it's not explicitly said, it's those mechanisms, that kind of function, where if you think about it, private meeting, we're all together, but we're not all in the same org. We need the sharing to work for specific people only, so that at least it works for everyone in the meeting. So I think that's features like this, which they've got to introduce layers first to work before we can get a full guest experience in a private meeting. Any other thoughts?
And on the other hand, it seems to be relating to the new announced feature that you can restricting and that you are not able to copy any of the chat content into another chat. So you can keep your collaborative meeting notes and the chat within a meeting. You can keep it private and secret.
Yeah. There's lots of things they've got to think of around it. The by nature loop is all about collaboration, but they also have to bring in some of the control features and putting fences around things.
Yeah, and have Darryl, have you seen the announcement from Derek Little on X around about how they are thinking about to use that external access mechanism? You don't have to have a Microsoft account, either a private or a business account. You just need an email address. It has been go viral yesterday or the day before.
Yes, I do remember. That's much like sharing a Word document with an email address. The link will give you access for a period of time, and then if you need to access it again, you open the link, it sends you a code, you confirm. So that seems like a sensible way to give access. Yeah, good point. Well, let's keep moving on with our last speaker, Phil, and we've actually just got a collection of some of those videos that Microsoft had shared in their blog post, so I got access to some of those. And Phil, you're going to pass a bit of commentary on some of these. So feel free to click on through, and let's make it feel like we're opening Christmas presents and we don't know what's next. So the first one, you feel free to take control and then try and pass commentary on what you think has been shown on screen.
Sheer guesswork as ever. Alrighty, here we go. So we got a little vid of what they're doing, and now you got video embedding coming in directly into loops. So inviting guests. The thing with inviting guests is, I think, as we've alluded to, is the fact that when you finally do get the guests, it'll be very similar to how you've got file sharing set up today. That although internally you'll still get loops, as in you'll see, like if someone sends you an email, you'll see the entire loop the way it is expected to see, but guests will just get that link. they won't get the whole experience, because obviously Loop's not only compatible with the Microsoft products, and if you're working with someone with Gmail or something like that, they're not going to be able to see it, but they still need to be able to log. They still have to do that whole logging in process to get to actually to your Loop page to then work collaboratively. So there will still be a few barriers, and I don't think we haven't quite got to the level of where we can have like a completely native experience. It's kind of similar as well to things like encrypted email and things like that, where you end up in a portal and then you basically are, one-time passcode or a guest login, and then you basically are allowed straight into it. Hopefully, if the people have got guests set up and they configure it properly, it should be relatively easy for a quick click through, and then you're on the page, lowering the barrier. But it kind of goes against a little bit the way that Microsoft have done this, trying to smooth the experience more and more so that you have less clicks to get to things, or contextually change to between one thing and another, which is one of the key things with Loop components. So we'll see how that plays out eventually, to see how the guest access actually works properly on that.
And Phil, just before you move on from this one, so I think what you're talking about was guest access to a page, if you're inviting people in and seeing that. This one shows inviting a guest into the whole workspace. And the nice thing here is that Marie, who is Marie's Southridge video, she's been invited in as a guest. You get the opportunity to give her a sensible name, and it shows in brackets that this is where she's from. And now she's a full member of the workspace, so she can contribute to the whole workspace at this point, which is quite cool.
Yep, having those workspace access is going to be key moving forward if we want people to actually adopt Loop, for sure. Okay, I'm going to hit the next one. So what are we doing with the next one here? Azure DevOps. Yes, some of the new third party, well, not third party in this particular instance, but new integrations Microsoft are adding. So they're going to be adding DevOps. I've seen a little bit of GitHub is actually on some of the menus in the preview version and things like that coming up. So kind of similar to what you're doing with Planner and things like that, that you get the board information directly inside a workspace or a page, so that you can work on it there without having to again switch context.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, we saw the same pattern, as you said, with GitHub with Trello and with Jira. And not many people probably realize this, but unlike Planner, where Planner's coming through and it's live and you're literally dragging cards around and you can see that change from the Planner app as well, this is a synced experience, which it's kind of indicated right there in the top right-hand corner, last synced on. That is apparently using the Power Platform and potentially Power Automate to go out, reach out to this source, bring in almost like a copy or a database of it, and then populate this table. So they're extending that to Azure DevOps, that which they've already had working for Jira and Trello.
And those synced experiences are also that you normally have to log in a certain number of times every 24 hours or something. I know with Jira and Trello, you have to log back in again every so often. I'm guessing DevOps probably not, because I'm sure it's probably to do with for your Microsoft 365, Azure AD, Entra ID login, that token would still come across, and it will probably be a little less of a burden to actually have to keep refreshing, etc. All right. Okay.
You get off early. Easy. You've got commentary. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yep. 12 seconds. Yeah, I mean, we obviously it's the usual sync between the two. I don't see any difference from the stuff that we've used previously, although that is OneNote, right? So that's the new one new
thing.
experience.
Yeah. copy and paste a component into OneNote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that will keep those people who are going to stick with OneNote until Microsoft rip it away as being their note-taking tool. And obviously, I don't think that's going to happen for several years because of it's so big and so well developed in the education space. And I think also it gives everybody a good reason to use Loop components if they're used to using OneNote, especially for those meeting note scenarios. I think that's a really good thing. And also, you've got inking still in and other features inside OneNote that you just don't have in Loop yet. Yes, Hermione, hang on. I will not say anything about people losing OneNote anymore ever again. Okay. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Yep. One last one, shall we? All the workspaces. There's a few new pieces in there. Yep. Good old whiteboard. Bringing in your loop from whiteboard. That's directly in the canvas, and then share it afterwards. So then you bring it back into your Teams meeting afterwards for collaborative work and use. And the main thing, they're adding the components directly inside of Whiteboard, which is currently something you can't do at the moment. That's supposed to be rolling pretty soon. So at the moment, you can only copy and paste a Loop component into a Whiteboard, but soon enough, you'll be able to actually bring to be able to create them directly in Whiteboard.
Yes, there's a lot going on here in this one. If you saw, and I didn't see this beforehand, it was creating a new whiteboard from the Loop page, not just taking one that was existing, but you said whiteboard, you started to put on some content, you then opened it up on whiteboard, so it's still there, and then by copying that component, dropping it into a Teams chat, it's available across the different places where components are supported. Hermine, let's have a look in the chat for your question. How can we get access to these mini demos? I'll tell you what. I'll ask. I'm pretty sure the Loop group will be fine with this because they've all been embedded in blog posts, so they're all public. What I could try and do is find a way of sharing that from my OneDrive so you can use them for demonstration as well. Yeah.
I think though, Daryl, there were a few on some of those videos. There were a few options in the menu that aren't even in preview yet. So. Right.
Yeah. And I sometimes asked our product marketing person, are you sure I'm supposed to be sharing this? He says, yeah, go ahead. I'm like, okay. Just so you know, you said yes to me. I'm definitely going to talk about it. But yeah, you're right. There's some things I think they're still thinking through. But if they've given the green light, so be it. But yeah, I know there's some other slides there, Phil. But I won't put any further stress on you. But how was that? Hey, so Phil was a bit like Santa Claus, and I think I've seen you dressed as Santa before. So you were unwrapping the possibility of what's on this slide. I think on the following slide it shows taking other components and putting them into whiteboard. So yeah, there's all sorts of bits there, and then there's some more Copilot stuff. But I'll make the slide deck available too for the group, so you can play through some of these things. I think it's about 200 or 300 megs, so we all love large PowerPoints. I don't have a closing slide, but we're just about at time, and I want to thank our speakers for today, and again just extend the invite for anyone who wants to share some of their experiences and thoughts about Loop. That's what this group is all about. It's not about only having experts, because none of us really are. What we are experts in is our own experience and how we've worked through things in our own organizations. and we all find value in that. So yeah, thank you for our speakers, and thank you for those who came along. I was a bit disappointed in X and their scheduled posts. Let me say this: you try and use their tools, and they turn off all the APIs and say, no, you've got to use our tools to schedule posts. And I opened them up this morning, and 4 of my scheduled posts to create awareness of this event were all failed with no reason.
Oh,
Yeah. So
you should have used Power Automate.
Maybe, except I think maybe the API for that's turned off too. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming along to this last minute roundup of the year, and we will have more, hopefully more frequent user groups throughout the next year. Perhaps February is when we might kick some of those things off. And New Zealand and this side of the world have summer now, so we all had to get jealous of you all going on holidays in June, August, and July. So it's your turn to watch us go to the beach. Yeah,
enjoy your time.
By the way, let's hope we can use the collaborative notes next time for guests in February.
That would be amazing. Yeah. Honestly, like
Good
as
idea.
soon as it's available, we will be using it here in our meetups for sure. Yeah. But yeah, thank you all. It was great to have you, and have a fantastic evening, morning, afternoon, and if you're watching the video, get back to work. Ha. See you all.
Have a nice one. Thanks for
Thanks
having
all.
us.
Thanks all.